Starting your extended essay is a big challenge, and most students find it very hard to come up with an appropriate research question. However, a good research question means 25% of your battle is already won. Your supervisor can help you with this, but they often generally leave you to it. And you want to be really careful here. With the right question, almost anything is possible. But with the wrong question, you're setting yourself up to fail. Most students brainstorm possible ideas, ask for suggestions, read successful EE samples, which are often available in your school library. But I want to help you do better than the average student. There is a 4-point test which will help you make sure your RQ is top notch. A good research question needs to pass all the 4 tests. Let's get started. The first test is to find out if it is the right scope. Of course, the question needs to be one that is answerable within the 4,000 word limit. You should be asking one relatively simple question. 4,000 words seem like a lot right now, but say after a few months of research and writing, it won't be. So it's important to try to make your question as focused or small as possible. So for example, a question like, has the government of India's approach to healthcare improved the economic growth? Is way too broad. That's crazy talk. But why? Because the government has a lot of approaches to healthcare, thousands of them for all we know. And it would be pretty hard for us to show any link between any of these strategies and economic growth. So then a question like, is India's telecom industry an oligopoly? Is probably much better, right? It's not too broad. However, that's one that's probably too obvious. India has only 3 dominant market players, namely Reliance Jio, Bharti Airtel and Vodafone Idea. So you can pretty much answer this question on the first page and your E is over. You need something that lies between these 2 extremes. In India, it is much less clearer, especially to me, whether the movie theatre industry is an oligopoly, or you could ask what market structure best characterizes the Indian movie theatre industry. Simple, right? Let's go to the second test. The second test is to identify which course concepts or tools you'll use. Are you able to identify several course concepts that you can use to analyze your question? In business, you'll need at least 4 or 5 of these. In economics, you'll need one main one and then 1 or 2 smaller ones to touch on. Obviously, if you can't tackle the question using the ideas from the course, then it's not appropriate. Your mission here is to show off how much you understand the ideas that are taught in class. So a common mistake which happens slightly more in business EEs is to research every possible aspect of a company. Just maybe because your dad works there and then, you expect that sharing information will impress the teacher so much that you'll get a 7. And every year there is this one student who generally does this without normally realizing they're doing this. They think that knowing as much about the company as an insider does is enough. But it is not. We just want to see that you understand the course concept and can use these to prove or disapprove the thesis using your core concepts. Clear? Right. Now let's go to the third test. The third test is to check if you will have the information. Will you actually have access to the secondary information you'll need to answer your question, and will you actually be able to do the primary research required? Now this is a tricky one, which you don't always, you won't be able to answer it right away. However, you need to answer it really soon, because if your RQ fails test 3, you won't be able to use it at all. Try to think about the concepts you'll be using in test 2. For the economics example about the tier 1, you might want to determine whether the whether there is price competition. So you would want to compare prices over time from different theaters in different areas in different locations, and that information really won't be that easy to find. So test 3 is all about access. EE research normally requires that someone on the inside trusts you. Now for a business student, if you're going to do a SWOT analysis and some kind of investment appraisal, what data will you need to fill in these tools? Consider what information you will need to answer these questions, right? Now, data that you expect is probably available, especially that you think the data is something that's available online, often isn't. So you'll just have to do your homework here, and the earlier, the better. If you're going to be relying on someone, is that your uncle or some relative, to turn over a copy of his company's balance sheet, you better get what you need from them as soon as possible. And if they don't give you the numbers or the interview that you need within the month, it's probably time to scrap your RQ. This stuff isn't personal. People are busy. Information sometimes is confidential. So get as much data as you can in the first month and show this to your supervisor. Every year, there are at least few students who face problems related to lack of information until there are only few months left, and then it's really too late. Hope these 3 tests were clear. They were all related to the course and the content. Now let's get on to the last test. The last test is to do with you. The last test is to check if the topic will help you. Ideally, the research you do here will help you get into your preferred university program. If you're applying to an econ program at university next year, then it would be great to have a letter from your econ teacher explaining what a great job you have done on your recent econ EE. Or perhaps if you aren't sure if you want to pursue business in university or not, EE would be a great opportunity to experience what university study is like. Or maybe you're simply genuinely interested in the research question. The point that I'm trying to make here is that it's great if you have some other kind of motivation than just finishing up your EE. That will really help you do better work and get ahead of the pack. You should ask yourself whether you feel your question has passed each of these tests. Take your time, be sure. It's okay to ask other people if they think your question is okay and it's passed all the tests. You can also get in touch with me for mentoring. I help mentor you through your entire EE. DM me to know more, and good luck everybody. Kill it in your EE.